good afternoon, good morning, good day, depending on where you're joining us uh, from around the world. You are welcome to the very first edition of Quality Conversations 2025. And I'm really happy to meet each and every one of us, particularly since it's our first meeting this year. So Happy New Year. I suppose it's still somewhat in order to say that. And welcome once again to Quality Conversations, where we explore tools and metrics for measuring compliance as it relates to the ISO 15189 standard. My name is Yota Fadipe, and I will be facilitating the introductory part of today's webinar. Very quickly, I'm just going to share my screen and run you through who we are as an organization, because today I can see a number of us are joining us, and it would be great if you can just use the chat while I'm getting my slides up to tell us where you're joining from and sort of share what your expectations are, because I see a number of new faces here. So if you can tell us your name and where you're joining us from, that would be great. Just use the chat to tell us your name and tell us what. I'm not able to, so I think I'll just go on to, oh, okay, from Lagos, from South Africa, fantastic. Lagos, Vivian is joining us from Lagos. Olive is joining us from Lagos as well. Moloko, beg your pardon, is joining us from South Africa. Asteria is joining us from Namibia. Awesome, awesome. So good to have you here. Still good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. You are welcome. Okay, so let's just dive right into today's presentation. I'm going to talk to you about our organization. As you know, Quality Conversations is being hosted by QBS Global. And QBS Global is the trading name for Quality First Business Solutions Nigeria Limited. And we are a systems management consulting and training company. Our vision is to transform healthcare across Africa through innovative or by promoting innovative quality management practices. And if you're joining this call, I want to assume that this is a vision that you share. You are concerned about, the quality of healthcare, and you desire an improvement, however good the current level is. And that's something that we are also passionate about. We bring the organization is built on an expertise of over 25 years, being led currently by the managing director, whose lovely face you can see, and who is also our facilitator for today, Mrs. Nene Oche. And we specialize in quality management and organizational transformation for pathology and healthcare organizations. We've worked in a number of regions across Africa. Like I said, the vision is to transform healthcare across Africa. So we are not limited to just Nigeria. And what is our mission? It is to advance excellence. At the core of everything that we do is a commitment to improving and to pursuing excellence to the highest level. And we do this through a number of ways. One, education and training. And this webinar is one of such ways we educate and train people, because we feel like it is our belief that knowledge being produced through education and training is what empowers us to take action. Sometimes some of the things that we are doing are, as a result of knowledge gaps. So we're constantly trying to create opportunities to help health professionals bridge knowledge gaps. Another way we do this is through system optimization, and you'll learn more about this in the course of this webinar. We foster stakeholder collaboration, and as always, we strive to ensure superior standards and improved outcomes, because the ultimate goal of everything that we do as an organization is improving patient um, outcomes, the quality of care that is being offered to patient. That's what really validates all the effort that goes into the work that we do at our individual organizations, healthcare organizations. Our values, we like to describe ourselves as ethical, meaning that we are committed to excellence. We believe in the power of teamwork. We are humble enough to recognize that there's always room to learn and grow. Um, and in all our dealings, we strive to maintain integrity. We are committed to our mission, and we adopt a very agile approach to our work, helping us to achieve it. And through it all, we strive to ensure that our communication and our actions are devoid of ambiguity. We strive to be clear in everything that we do. So this is us. And some of the services that we offer include quality management systems consultancy. We help, health organizations primarily, but organizations in general, to comply with ISO standards, various ISO standards, and also bridge knowledge gaps through training. We also facilitate international accreditation for health facilities. We deploy health facility auditing. We assist with medical laboratory management, and of course, we offer our QBS Global certification training. Those are our own in-house programs. And here's some of the reasons you should consider working with us. Like I started off saying, the organization is built off an expertise of over 25 years. And so there is the deep knowledge of the industry we're playing in. There's a deep understanding of the gaps, the challenges, the struggles. And because we've been able to work for so long, we are well equipped to guide your organization through the various stages, especially as it regards to improving your systems, your operations and efficiency, with the goal of enhancing patient outcomes. Secondly, we are very results driven. We believe that the results should speak for themselves, and everything that we do, we strive to ensure that our targets or our goals or the vision is achieved as it should be. Like I had already said, we have a deep understanding of the industry. We're constantly improving ourselves, so we are up to date with the latest trends as far as quality management is concerned. And our vision, or our work, our approach to work, is to ensure that the clients that we work with are able to raise their standard up to global best practices. So you're not just confident within your local geography, but you can also have confidence in the work that you produce at a global level. And then, of course, at the core of who we are is a passion for quality. So we're very passionate about quality. It's reflective in everything that we do. And if that's something that is important to you too, then you should definitely consider working with us. So that's a really quick run through of who we are. Once again, you're welcome to Quality Conversations webinar, the January edition. And today our topic is quality transformation, essential metrics and tools for ISO 15189-2022 compliance. It will be great. I know that when we were registering, we filled out the forms to sort of highlight specific ways that you measure compliance within your organization, but it would just be great to read from you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay, but just before I do that, I would like you to, first off, in the chat, tell me some of your expectations from today's webinar, while I go on to share with you some of the objectives, some of the reasons behind this webinar, why we hold it every month, what we hope to achieve, or what we are looking to achieve. But I want you to use the chat box, the chat section, and share with me some of your expectations from today's webinar. It was great and very commendable to see that some of you joined even before time. So I assume, you have expectations, and I would love to read those. So while that's going on, I'm just going to quickly run through some of the core objectives of this webinars that we host. So the first thing is to demystify QMS and QMS implementation. And I know that the majority of our audience at these webinars are health professionals, and they are likely familiar with the term QMS, or quality management system, but it's just important to again demystify, because sometimes when it comes to being pragmatic and just really breaking it down to day-to-day activities, we find that there are knowledge gaps. It sort of becomes blurry and unclear, and our objective is to help demystify it, to make it not such a high level thing concept, but rather to break it down for everyday healthcare professionals to be able to utilize in their work. A second objective is to address most pressing questions, and that's why oftentimes when you register for this webinar, we typically ask you, for questions, because it helps us to know what's most important to you, areas where you require support, so that we can tailor our offerings to support you. The third objective is to facilitate networking opportunities for healthcare professionals. And for this, I would like to really encourage you to leverage the chat box. Don't just, be a dormant participant. If you are able to engage with other professionals here, it's just really to create an environment for co-learning, peer sharing, that sort of thing. So I want to encourage you to use the chat, be active throughout the webinar, again, to bridge knowledge gaps. And that's something that I have been iterating all through my conversation so far. We want to help bridge knowledge gap, especially for small organizations. We believe it is important that to really transform healthcare in Africa, we need to strive towards health equality. And if that's going to happen, we have to carry organizations from, of different sizes and in different locations along, to make sure that we are all on the same page. Another objective is to prepare you for your next audit. I don't know about you, but I don't know about your organization, but a number of organizations we've worked with, tend to have this palpitations when audits are around the corner. But we want you to be confident as you prepare for your next audit, and that's why we have these sort of conversations. And then finally, but definitely not the least, to contribute to the improvement of healthcare service in Africa. And that takes us back to our vision as an organization. So I'm just going to stop here now and read very quickly from you, and then we'll get right into the new conversation. So, what are your expectations? I don't see them yet. I don't see them. I'm just going to allow another minute. Our guest speaker is here.
Okay, cookie. According to one of the things that one of the sitcoms that my family and I like to watch. Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome once again. Thank you very much, the amazing Yuta, for bringing us in and leading us into this session today. Very glad to see us all, and we're going to dive right in. As Yuta has said, I mean, it's going to be an interesting conversation today, and I would encourage us to use the chat box. We're going to have prompts to use the chat box, and we're going to also have need to unmute at some point and speak, and also just respond to questions. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from us. As I shared, I think on LinkedIn or something, I would really want to, I really want us to share our experiences, to build for ourselves this ecosystem within Africa, because we have different experiences across our different economies and communities. And so there is definitely something I strongly believe that there's something that you have that's worked for you, that is working for you, that somebody else might learn. I'm not here to teach. I'm not here to lecture. I'm here to share, and then would just build ourselves up and continue to help ourselves to understand things better as we go along. So this is a brief about me, and I'm very glad to be have the opportunity to speak to us. I love teaching, I love talking, I love coaching, I love mentoring, and that basically guides what I do. So even when I do audits, even when we do audits and I lead audits for internal, like second party audits thereabouts for organizations, I love to seize opportunities to teach, to show better ways to model things. So definitely not in the middle of the audit. Yeah, there's the ethics towards that. But, just seize opportunities. And I'm taking notes. I'm not doing it I'm not working from an angle of I'm going to bring all your non-conformities, let me just use the right term, to your face. What it's more like, okay, I see where there's the gap, like Yuta said, and I just seize opportunities to say, hey, and when we're done with that, I'm like, hey, this is where you can do this is where you can do that, and here are opportunities for improvement. Yeah, that's my passion. So it drives everything I do. So let's go. The objectives of today's webinar, we're understanding the key 15189/2022 requirements as it talks about metrics and measurements of indicators that drive quality management implementation. And then we're going to learn together how leadership drives quality transformation. I almost said quality conversations. We're going to define and measure KPIs for effective QMS, or how to define and measure KPIs for effective QMS, and then implementing strategic approach to QMS monitoring and improvement. Right. This session last month, we had we had a session that talked about basics, the essentials, more like entry-level kind of information. It's right there in our YouTube channel, the recording, and that more or less spoke to people who are the practitioners, the ones who are doing the work. Today, we are focused mainly on team leads, on managers, and people who are aspiring to be team leads and managers, so that you get equipped. As they say, when you begin to walk the role, you eventually become the role. Have you heard it before? When you begin to walk the role, you eventually become the role. So you begin to walk, talk, behave, speak like a manager in whatever you desire to, you'd eventually become that, right? So aspiring professionals, aspiring managers, this is for you, current managers, and quality management professionals. Now, what benefits? I would like us to think about it more like a before-after scenario or situation. If you were privileged to have been in your organization before QMS was implemented, if you were, and if you weren't, just try to imagine, what benefit do you think QMS has brought to your organization or team or work? Just keep dropping them in the chat like this, and I'll read them. Okay, but yeah, I would really like to hear what benefit you think it has brought. 2 words, 1 word, 1 sentence, a paragraph if you like, but just let us know. We'd like to hear from you. I'll first of all start off with, that's tautology. I'll start off with talking about the evolution of quality management in medical laboratories. And quality management and quality management in medical laboratories have the same origin story, but they veer off at a point midway. Pre-1960s, we had a lot of early practices, largely unregulated, minimal standardization. You had inconsistent results, both in the manufacturing, across every domain of industry, manufacturing, healthcare, etc. There was really little happening, especially in the healthcare industry, in medical laboratories. Pre-1960, there was really nothing. Then in 1967, you had the regulatory standards. You had the CLIA in the US Act, the CLIA Act established in the US that brought up standards for laboratory testing. Then in 1999, we had the ISO EIC 17025 established, which are the standards for setting competency requirements for testing and calibration laboratories, all testing and calibration laboratories. So without specificity to environmental testing or chemical testing or medical laboratory testing or medical pathology testing, just generic that way. And then in the 2000s, the focus began to shift to risk-based thinking and continuous quality improvement within laboratory practices. So the thought process now began to move to say, hey, there has to be a better way we can do things. There has to be a way where we can, there's a lot of harm that is coming to patients when we don't try to get proactive. And so there was a lot of conversations starting off with proactivity, with people begin to start things and all. In 2003, yay, ISO 15189 was introduced, focusing on quality and competence specifically for medical laboratories. In 2012, ISO 15189, the first revision was the second edition and the first revision was made, which now added laboratory information management standards, and it reflected the evolving needs of labs. So at that point in time, people were already moving to LIMS integration, removal of paper, etc. And that was beginning to catch on across the globe. So the revision, reflected that new trend, that new global trend. In 2017, we had the updates for the 17025. And that 17025's revision incorporated significant changes to now emphasize process-based approach and align with ISO 9001 standards. And then in 2022, we had the ISO 15189 third edition, and this now began to integrate further risk-based thinking, patient-centered quality. And the big thing about it was that it was now aligned to 9001. So before then, it had it had just a few clauses. I'm trying to remember the number of clauses. The number of sub-clauses within each were very few. I think it was about 7 or 8, thereabouts. And then, but now it's much wider. You have it all the way to 9, and the number of sub-clauses within are now many more. So and I'm privileged to have worked with the 3 standards. I actively worked with 2003 standards, actively worked with 2012 standards, and I'm actively working with 2022 standards. So I've actually watched ISO 15189, ISO 15189 standards evolve. It's more like having a baby and watching the baby grow. So I've watched the standards evolve, and I really can firsthand appreciate the level of transformation that it brings to organizations incrementally or increasingly. So the standard of operations in 2003, when people are using the 2003, for organizations that were using 2003 standards, has significantly changed, evolved, and improved over time. With each revision, they get better. So it's not a stagnant standard at all. It's very dynamic, and it's very current and very relatable. And at this point, I consider it very, very important to recognize in memoriam Janet Wasong, who erstwhile until her passing was the lead consultant of Quality First Business Solutions, K2Q Pty in South Africa, and we had a collaboration together that had Quality First Business Solutions Nigeria Limited set up. And she was very instrumental. She was on the ISO TC 212 which is the technical committee that worked on the revision of the ISO 15189 standards. And she was on the committee as a committee head ahead of the 2022 standards. And so, yeah, when we talk about the ISO 15189 standards, we sure do know what we're saying here, because we've worked with it in various degrees and capacities, from the back end to the front end to the application. So I'm happy to discuss with us about any nuances that we may be having or facing in the interpretation of the standards, and let's take it up from there. So Pierre is appreciating and loving up on Janet, who passed last year, January 10, in memoriam. Okay. Now, I want to just highlight some key updates in this particular standards, 2022 standards. Like I said earlier, there was an enhanced focus on risk-based thinking, which is now incorporating risk management principles throughout the laboratory processes, encouraging proactive identification and mitigation of potential risks. So any risk that's affected patient quality, quality of results and patient safety, it is encouraging proactive identification and mitigation of these risks. This third edition is strengthening leadership and management requirements. It more or less emphasizes leadership responsibility in establishing and sustaining the quality culture. And so you have much more laboratory management shall, much more now than in past editions. You have, it's placing requirements of active involvement, placing requirements for active involvement of top management in decision-making and in QMS effectiveness. We have in this particular standard, increased emphasis on patient-centered care, ensuring that the services being provided by the medical labs aligned with patient needs and clinical expectations. It also has been focusing on, or is focused on, communication between the stakeholders in this ecosystem, the labs, the clinicians, and the patients, for improved diagnostic accuracy. We now have it integrated, like I said earlier, with ISO IEC 17025 and ISO 9001 principles and the arrangement. So it's now aligned much more closely with the general quality management frameworks in terms of numbering, in terms of the way it's structured, the structure and organization of the standards. We have an improved focus on non-conformity and corrective action processes, strengthening the requirements for documentation, for investigations, and resolution of non-conformities. It also is putting a keen focus on continuous improvement and preventive action over reactive problem solving. So beyond solving the problem is, how do we correct it and prevent it? So the entire CAPA process is more enhanced. And finally, from what I want to highlight here, the clearer requirements for internal and external assessments. And, I said I like audits. So there are clear requirements now for internal audits, management reviews. You have structured guidelines for engaging in this, and it enhances the role of external assessments in ensuring compliance and continuous quality improvement. So I see that the chat has been really, or is it my imagination? The chat is really slow because we're supposed to actually work on this together, on this particular, okay, oh, it has been read. Oh, it's not slow, my bad. It's here. All right, okay. So thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Can we share also? I'd like to read from us. What is the significance to you? What is the significance of quality management in medical labs. So that was what I asked initially. So to give us time to begin to respond to it and so that I could take it down. So I'm seeing some of our responses. Technology, don't do this to me right now. Okay. The screens are being interesting. Okay. I'm here. I'm home and dry. Right. Okay. So the impact that we have so long. Okay, I wanted to just read what we had. Vivian says quality, precise, accurate, and reproducible results for ultimate client or patient satisfaction. Thank you. Kithiway says, I hope I got that. Is it Kithiway or Kithiway? Says ensure reliable and accurate results. Fantastic. To ensure full compliance of ISO 15189, improve customer satisfaction, quality, and reproducible results. Great. Those are actually some intents or measurables, not necessarily measurable, but some significant importances of quality management in medical labs. And I think we already captured some of what I'm going to share here. Patient safety and accurate diagnosis. So it's impacting directly this new standards, and implementing the standards in general is ensuring that we're having reliable test results, ensuring that we are able to reduce misdiagnosis. We want to really be the nerve center where of clinical operations, where decision-making is pinged off from the results that we give, right? So we want to reduce incidences of inappropriate treatments, just shine the light on what is happening within our patients so that they get the best care that they can get, timely care, and that they have better health outcomes and better quality of life. We have compliance and accreditation. Yeah, it helps laboratories to meet regulatory and accreditation requirements. We have operational efficiency in terms of reduction of errors, reduction of rework, and all of that waste. I do not like the waste involved in rework. I don't know who is with me on this table. I totally do not like rework. Let us get it done right the first time. Let's just get it done once and for all. Why do we have to do it again? I don't like reworks. Reduces downtimes, optimizes laboratory workflows. It improves stakeholder confidence. Stakeholders across board, management, healthcare providers, patients, regulatory authorities, board members, our team members themselves, or within ourselves as team members, stakeholder compliance, and then data-driven decision-making, where laboratories are able to analyze performance metrics, identify gaps, and drive improvement initiatives. And this last point is the focus of our conversation today: how we can drive decision-making via data. Before we delve fully into that, what is leadership's role in QMS implementation? From your experience, I'd like to hear from us. I'd like to read from us. What is your experience? What role does the leadership play in QMS implementation? Are they just to sit down? What do you think? What do you think is the role? You as a leader or as a team member, what role do you see that that leadership play in QMS implementation? I'd like to read from us. I would like to read from us, like I'm actually waiting. What role does the leadership play? Are they the ones to dole out the money? Just dole out the money, dole out the funds, give us the resources, and we're good? Or what's their role? What is the role of leadership in QMS implementation? And if you want to unmute, you can just raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can speak. Okay, Kathy, thank you so much. You're so engaged. The leadership is to ensure that the laboratories comply with the requirements. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. So from your own experience, so I believe that either you as a leader or being, within the system, you see that the leadership works towards ensuring that there is compliance. Let us comply. Provide moral support. Is this Emmanuel? You are correct. I agree with you fully. To identify gaps, find solutions, to make accurate decisions based on historic data, to ensure full implementation of corrective actions from NCs, raised during audits to ensure effectiveness. So, but when you say to identify gaps, the leadership is to identify gaps. Okay? I think I'm trying to see how you're looking at it. Okay? I do think that it's up to everyone also to identify gaps. But I think I also see from your perspective where you say from a strategic point, they're supposed to identify gaps and see where are the hindrances to us implementing QMS. I think that's what you're saying. Leadership has to ensure, Michael says, that everyone is actively involved and in compliance with upholding the management systems in the organization. Everyone is actively involved. I'll give you I'll highlight some words and I'll call them keywords, even though you haven't said it yourself. I think the keywords here are actively involved, right? When everyone is actively involved, I mean, that is a role of leadership. I totally agree with you. Thank you all so very much. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so everything we've said, we can split it into two big buckets. Two, if we want to take it down to the biggest buckets possible. We have two big buckets. Number one, strategy, and number two, execution. So when we're talking about leadership here, I wouldn't want you to think about your line manager. Don't just think about that line manager. Take your mind off that line manager. Okay, your mind is off the line manager now. Now, take your mind off their line manager. Not them. That's not who we're talking about. Is your mind off them now? Now, take your mind off the CEO. We're not talking about the CEO either. And I can hear somebody say, so who are we talking about? Who is the leadership now we're talking about? Okay, we're talking about the entire, all of them put together. Not one, not any one of them. Yes, we're talking about the entire, when you say leadership, is the entire body. All of them put together. Okay, because in leadership, there's strategy. Leadership, there's execution. Okay, so in all our conversation, and don't think about yourself if you're the leader. Say, they're talking to me, they're talking me. No. It's beyond just you, and it's beyond just that line manager, who you've interacted with today or not. Okay, so we have two big buckets. We have strategy and we have execution. As far as strategy is concerned, and I'm aligning this to the ISO 15189 2022 standards. And I do hope your organization has a copy of the standards. If not, how are you able to implement what you don't have a copy of? Beats me. Please make sure you get a copy of the standards. It is so, and you know the beautiful thing about this particular version of the standards, it's not as high level, it's not as mystic as it used to be, where yes, we say this, the ISO does not give the how, they just tell you what. ISO just tells you what, it doesn't tell you how, right? But there's a lot of pointers in this particular standards that makes it much more relatable, much more easy to decipher. You can actually decipher the standards easily with just a little bit of guidance and support to expand the givings of each of the clauses. Okay, so we have here in strategy, we have strategic intent, we have commitment, and we have culture shaping under strategy. If we're going to bring more buckets out to distill leadership's role as far as strategy is concerned, we have the strategic intent, pardon my hesitance. We have the vision, the mission, the vision, and the goals. All of that setting, all of that ideation and communication of the strategic intent of the organization is the leadership responsibility. So communicating continuous improvement plans, communicating the vision, selling the vision, communicating the mission, and outlining the goals per time is a leadership strategic responsibility. A leadership strategic responsibility is also in showing commitment. In the standards, it's clearly put there that leadership has to show commitment. It's emphasizing this role of leadership in establishing, in developing, and in implementing the effective QMS. Okay, the leadership is responsible for showing commitment. Showing commitment involves making resources available, involves ensuring the laboratory meets the requirements by the regulatory bodies or accreditation bodies, involves allocating resources effectively, involves driving quality initiatives, driving improvement initiatives, and ensuring that they are done, that they are actually executed. Leadership shows commitment by removing all forms of pressure, undue pressure, not all forms. There's good pressure. Undue pressure, removing undue pressure, preventing rather undue pressure, and anything that may cause partiality, just driving impartiality within the system, ensuring that there's independence, the team members are able to independently work. There's no undue pressure, social, financial, etc., that would prevent them from doing the work that they want to do effectively across all operations. And then finally, we have culture shaping. Culture shaping overall, overarching, as far as strategy is concerned, there is the role and responsibility of leadership in ensuring that a culture that prioritizes quality, that prioritizes risk management, that prioritizes continuous improvement is fostered. So it's up to, on the strategic side, leadership to drive and foster that culture. Part of culture shaping is also ensuring that the right people with the right competencies are hired for the right job at the right quantities. Sorry for using that for human beings, but yeah, in the right, in sufficient to sufficient levels. So we don't have understaffing, we don't have overstaffing, so that the culture is shaped. People are rewarded according to their performance and their their performances, and all of that is done and is driven effectively by the leadership. That's their responsibility on the strategic side. Decision making and continuous improvement is also part of culture shaping, where the leadership ensures that decisions are made timely. Okay, there's no delay in decision making. Once there's delay in decision making or communication, you have a leadership gap there, and that has to be bridged. So once the leadership drives or reflects or models timely decision making and communication, they are able to also encourage that as an internal culture where people are also empowered to make decisions in their different work areas. So where they have their jurisdictions, they're able to make decisions, and some of these will stem from management reviews, measuring the effectiveness of the systems, and people are able to just make their decisions. So that's as far as strategy goes. Let me run a bit faster. As far as execution goes, we have the objectives, where the laboratory management as a team is required to establish, to lead the implementation in this, on this side. Now, this is the execution side, okay, where the laboratory leadership, the leadership is leading the implementation, is leading documentation. We're now going granular, is responsible for maintaining set objectives, actually to set the objectives and maintain set objectives, maintain them aligned with the goals, ensuring that everyone is aware of what the objectives are. They are aware of how these objectives cascade or translate into their roles and their daily work, right? Ensuring that the implementation is at across all levels of the organization. Performance evaluation also to say, how are we faring? Not just performance of the people, because an organization is not, I mean, performance is not measured by the organization. It's not the organization is made up of people. So you don't measure the people by the people. You measure it by the system that has been set up, right? So you can say, oh, you're failing at your task, you're failing at your task, where there is not an enabling environment, or the enabling systems have not been set up. So it's up to the leadership to ensure that in the monitoring of the performance, or in the evaluation of performance, the right indicators, what are you measuring? What are we looking out for to measure? And the indicators, the quality indicators, monitoring them, reviewing them, these are accurately set and on a continuous iterative mode or model, so that you say, okay, where are we going next? Where are we going next? What do we need to measure next? And all of that. Finally, we have the team engagement and motivation. This is different from culture shaping, where it now comes, a bit more granular, where you have communication systems being set up to ensure that teams are informed, they're continuously informed, they're continuously engaged, they're continuously motivated towards achieving the goals, and everyone is clear on their roles, they are clear on what actions they need to take, they're able to take responsibility for quality outcomes within their different domains, and just drive the continuous improvement in that way. Just get people motivated to keep aspiring to do more and be more, and just achieve more within their departments. And so when we look now at the evaluation, we talked about performance evaluation just now. Look now at the evaluation requirements as per ISO 15189. We are coming to the tools. We are coming to the metrics. I'm giving us a story, right? So we're coming to the metrics. Leadership is responsible for strategy and execution. I'm backing up a bit. And in execution, are responsible for performance evaluation. Does ISO say anything about performance evaluation? Yes. It says that to evaluate the performance of the QMS, or the effectiveness or the organization, some things must be measured, okay, or evaluated. You have the quality indicators, you have internal audits, you have the non-conformity or non-conformance analysis, you have the corrective and preventive action analysis, and you have the external body assessment. These 5, as per the standards written out in pure plain black and white, are to be evaluated. And the outcome of this evaluation fed into management review meetings, right? So these are requirements by the ISO 15189 standards. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat as we go along. So quality indicators, now we're getting home to where we're going. Quality indicators. What then is a quality indicator? Because ISO says we should measure quality indicators. Quality indicator, measure of a degree. If we're leaders, if we've been operating within a quality management system for some time, you should know that it's the measure of the degree to which a large number of characteristics of an object fulfills requirements. If you have read the standard before, you know that that is a definition from the standards. It's very standard. So essentially it's saying it's the measure, it's how well a body of characteristics, not just one, of an object. And when ISO says object, it's talking about anything, fulfills the requirements. So you have different things that should show if the characteristics fulfill the requirements. So note 1, still except from the standard, says a measure can be expressed, for example, as a percentage yield, percentage defects, defects per million occasions or opportunities, if you had it, or it's now called million occasions, or the Six Sigma scale. This is an except of the standards. It also says quality indicators can measure how well an organization meets the needs and requirements of the users and the quality of all operational processes. So your quality indicators are beneficial for measuring how well the needs are being met. 5.5D plus 5.5D in summary says that laboratory management is to establish quality indicators to evaluate performance. These indicators should cover pre-examination, examination, and post-examination procedures. And these indicators should monitor performance in relation to objectives. So it's not just about monitoring things. Why are you monitoring? Why are you picking these particular indicators? You have to be able to show why you are measuring this particular indicator. Is it because your friend, who is also the manager in the other organization, is measuring it? If that is not in alignment with your organization's objectives, then that is a non-beneficial measurement or metric. I hope we're following. So types of quality indicators as per ISO 15189/2022 says we have number of unacceptable samples or number of samples received, per number of samples received rather, number of unacceptable samples per number of samples received. You have error rates at critical service points. So you can measure, a form of quality indicator is when you decide to measure what is the error rate at registration, what is the error rate at sample reception and accessioning, what is the error rate at sample analysis or preparation, what is the error rate at sample analysis, what is the error rate at results generation or results input or results communication. Okay. Then you have rate of TAT achievement, turnaround time achievement is also a type of quality indicator. These are many more. The 15189 standards, 2022 standards actually stated these as examples, and there are actually a few more stated as examples of quality indicators. So last month, as I said earlier, we talked about the basics. We defined KPIs. We gave beginner examples of KPIs and what should be measured, what could be measured. We also gave intermediate examples. So intermediate level examples, beginner level examples. If you've not been measuring KPIs before, what do you want to measure? What can you measure easily? What can you measure today? And we talked about why measuring QMS is important. We talked about the foundational metrics, for measuring QMS effectiveness. All of that is on the YouTube playlist. So you can visit the YouTube playlist. The link will be in the chat now. So you can just hit the link and in your spare time, watch that to serve more like a refresher, because it's a refresher course. So you can watch the full episode there. So I'm not going to go into that in detail, but something we talked about now, this is now key performance indicators. We have talked about quality indicators as per ISO 15189/2022. Now we're talking about key performance indicators. We have intermediate examples so this is what I shared last month. As I said, you can watch the full episode on our YouTube playlist or channel. We have average length of patient stay. This is for a healthcare organization in general. Percentage of preventive maintenance tasks completed on schedule. This is for a laboratory. Percentage of patients screened for infection control measure. Variance in scheduled surgeries completed on time. And then percentage of incidents resolved. So now the question is, are quality indicators a part of key performance indicators? Or are key performance indicators a part of quality indicators? Or are they both the same? I want to hear from us. Over to you. We have about 20 odd minutes left and we'll soon be rounding up. So, but I really want to hear from us. What do you think? Which is which? The chicken or the egg? Are quality indicators a part of KPIs, or are KPIs a part of QIs, or are they both the same? You can, if it's easier for you to speak, you can just raise your hand and then I'll have you on mute. What do we think? KPIs the same or different? Quality indicators are a part of KPIs, okay? Okay, right? Thank you, Asteria. Who else? Anybody else? What do you think? Are quality indicators a part of KPIs, or are KPIs a part of? All QIs are part of KPIs. However, KPIs may be broader than just QIs. Fantastic, okay? So all quality indicators are part of key performance indicators, but key performance indicators may be broader than just quality indicators. Fantastic. Anybody else wants to share their thoughts? Thank you, Michael and Asteria. Okay. Okay. I think we're still typing, so I'll just carry on for the sake of time. But thank you. Thank you for sharing. QIs are part of KPIs. Okay, for the organization. Fantastic. So we asked when you were registering, we asked, what metrics do you measure in your facility for quality? Okay. And this is what I already said as at yesterday. 15% said turnaround times, 20% said ISO standards, quality control and assurance like EQA, 17.5%. 12.5% of respondents said patient outcomes and satisfaction. 5% said staff satisfaction. 7.5% said number of NCs. 7.5% said risk assessment, and different other answers were formed the 15% of the respondents. Now, from what we've said so far, which of these are most beneficial to measure? Well, in answering that, I think we'll be able to highlight which is not a measure, and like it's not a metric. We cannot measure this. I'm sure we can see one or two that, you know, it's not a measure and it's not a metric, right? But which of these do you think are most beneficial to measure? Which of these are most beneficial to measure, in your opinion? Let's see. Can you still see the slide? Can you still see the slides? Okay, turnaround
Yes,
time.
we can.
Okay, turnaround times, EQA, IQCs, pending sample rejection, stock management, instrument management, and check logging. Awesome. Yeah. I love the check logging part. Number of NCs, TAT. It's just the number, but yeah, number of NCs, TAT, EQA, IQC. Great. And I think we can also say the ones that we cannot measure. Among the responses that we're giving, there's one or two there that cannot be measured, right? So we are right, spot on. We're spot on. Okay, I agree with us. In summary, we start by identifying the goals that point to your team. Then, that's from a leadership perspective, identify the goals that point to your team. Then we set SMART objectives for each goal, cascaded to the sub-teams. We define the quality metrics, the QIs and the KPIs. Okay. We collate data using standardized format automation. We analyze the data, we implement corrective action, and we monitor impact and make adjustments. No, it's not the end of the webinar. When I said in summary, I wanted to summarize where we are coming from. Like, I've been speaking for quite a while. So let's just put it all together in one slide, right? So in summary, so far, this is where we are. We're not ended yet. But I want to talk about point 3, data collation using standardized formats and automation. Why do we think this is going to be very important? Why do you think it's going to be important to collate data using standardized formats and automation? You've defined your quality metrics. Now you know that, okay, there are things that I must measure that are in alignment with my team objectives, that are in alignment with our organizational goals. Why is it important to use standardized formats or automation to collate this data? I would love to read from us. Meanwhile, some tools that can be used for data collation are your LIMS, your EHRs. You have manual logs, you have checklists, you have EQMS systems. Those are tools that are very versatile. And has anybody written anything? Let me quickly look before I say it. Okay, nobody has said anything yet. It is important to use automation and co because the quality of the reports that you generate for measuring your system, your quality indicators, your key performance indicators, is dependent directly on the quality of the data you have collated. So if the data is not objectively collated, if there's variability in the data collected, if it's not collected consistently over time, if you have and there are no standardized tools being used, so you have people, and the question is how many tests were run on a particular day, or in a particular, let's say how many full blood count tests were run, and there's no automation, or there's no standardized way of pulling the result, the data, and somebody decides to, okay, I'll just count the number of tubes that came to the bench, and another person would say, okay, I would go and count the number of runs that I had today. Another person would say, and it's so variable, then whatever report or whatever inference is being gotten from that data will be flawed, because you're having variations in the manner of that data collection. So we want to use automated tools, want to use standardized forms, want to use standardized controlled checklists and forms and tools to measure. So if you're asking your team to get data on this or that or the other, and we're saying just send in a report of how many tests were run, and there's no specified way across the different locations, and there's no specified way of measuring it, or how patient satisfaction or wait times, and there's no standardized automated way, then wait times is actually a very interesting one, because how do you measure wait times when it's very fluid? When you have people, and you know how fast they say time goes fast when you're having fun. So to some people, I've been here for ages, and they're like, no, you've been here for 5 minutes. And to someone else is, I've been here for 5 minutes, and you're like, no, you were actually watching a movie. You've been here for 25. You see? And so if it's left in a non-automated manner and just left subjectively to be measured, that data, following that data or making decisions from that data would end up in flawed plans along the way. Now, presenting data, now we have come from identifying our goals, we have come to setting our objectives, SMART objectives. Oh, I said all of the things, so I'm skipping some things because I talked about them last month during the webinar. So if you just go to last month's webinar, you can cover a lot of, you can get a lot of other things that are in the gaps I have not said now. So we've talked about setting SMART objectives, we've talked about data collation, identifying your QIs and your KPIs, ensuring that these are aligned to your team objectives, which are aligned to your organizational goals, and then measuring, making sure that you're using the right tools to collate this data. Examples were given last month as well. Ensure that you're using the right tools to collate this data. And then now you've analyzed the data. Examples of how we can analyze was also shared last month. Analyze the data, and now you want to present data to management, because there's an end game here, right? The end game is for transformation, is for improvement, is for management systems implementation or optimization, right? So now you want to present the data to management. The best practices: present with clarity. Focus on the key performance indicators that align with the strategic goals, the regulatory compliance, and operational efficiency of the organization. Your QIs have fed into that KPI. Just as you're speaking, focus on these key performance indicators that are in this alignment, and then you speak with clarity and make sure that what you are speaking about, once you speak in terms, in the language of KPIs, we are speaking in a way that is relevant to management. So when I'm saying I'm talking now about strategic management, senior or executive management, senior management. Next, we have visualization. Use charts, use dashboards, use trend analysis to present data in an easily digestible format. Make sure that you're collating your data timelessly, okay? And make sure they are presenting your reports and presenting the reports in a timely manner. So get particular time frames and stick with them so that the management begins to expect and can effectively monitor or observe changes over time. So if you're doing weekly reports on particular metrics, report them weekly. If you're doing monthly reports, do it monthly and stick to it. Same time, same station, same every month, right? If you're doing quarterly reports, keep it to quarterly and make sure that you're able to, do this so that if issues are arising, you can quickly pick them. Okay, you can quickly pinpoint them and you're able to prevent them before they escalate or escalate. Make presented to management shows actionability. You are ensuring that what you're reporting, the metrics that you're reporting, is highlighting areas that need improvement. Okay, and it's including your report is including recommendations for corrective and preventive action. You want there to be action. There has to be action. Action on improvement, action on correction, action on prevention. Please avoid the trap of trying to show a dashboard that is all good. Because otherwise, what are you aspiring towards? If you're all good, then how do you show that your ingenuity and your innovation and your skills to the table when everything has been good ab initio? So what are you presenting to us on a day-to-day? You're presenting that the good is still good, is very good, and everything is perfect. So what are we aspiring towards? Somehow I find that we kind of fall into that trap in many domains. Okay, I'm not going to speak about any particular one, but in many domains, we fall into that trap of wanting to present things better than they really are. Social media. Okay, so don't fall into the trap of presenting things better than they are. Otherwise, it will be so difficult for you to show that the improvement strategies you have put in place have been effective. It will be difficult to show that your ideas, your innovative ideas are solving the problem. It will be difficult to show that your team is actually working towards improvement and towards improving, and they're improving in their efficiency and in their effectiveness as a team, right? Now, engage with your stakeholders. Know who you're presenting to per time. Understand and customize the reports if necessary. If you're going to present to a technical team, you need to customize it to suit their language. You can get someone on that team and say, Does this resonate with you? Not quite. I don't get all this jargon. Aha, you change it to numbers. If you are speaking to executive management, C-suite, you have to be talking numbers. You have to be talking EBITDA. You have to be talking financial ROI and all of those things. You have to customize your reports. If you're talking to regulators, you are showing compliance, you are showing conformity, etc. Just making sure that you are communicating relevance, right? Okay. So this is an example of, you can see on screen, an example of a dashboard. A dashboard is, I would have asked what's between a dashboard and a report, but let me spell out that chart. So a dashboard is what you measure over time. It keeps changing. It's like a dashboard, driving dashboard. It's not static. A report is a picture, a one-time picture of the status of particular metrics. A dashboard shows the variation of the metrics over time. Right. Now, having done all of this, do these statements still sound familiar to us? Have we heard these statements before? In our best tries, we have done all of the above. We have set the goals, objectives. We have done the QIs, KPIs. We've set everything. We've done visuals. We've done dashboards. We've done reports, beautiful ones. We've adapted the data and presented in a way that each customizes it to the stakeholders that are relevant. Yet we hear things like, I don't even understand the use of these charts. Why are we putting these things on the wall? Or why is this thing being sent to us by mail every week? No one does anything with these reports. Who has heard stuff like this? I want to know if it's only me that has been hearing this sort of stuff from people. Has anybody heard this thing before? The management does not listen. I don't even know why we are collating this stuff. The management does not listen. There is no use collecting all this data. Measure this, fill this, write it, submit it. Why are we doing it? There is no use. There has not been any change since we started collecting this data. Why are we doing it? The problems are still there. Does this resonate with anybody? Let me know. Let me know in the chat or as a reaction. Have you heard this before from anybody within your teams or your organization? Come now. I'm sorry, I'm trying to come into the chats. Yes, Teresa says yes. Yeah, indeed. So you just hear people saying, why are we doing this? Why exactly are we doing this? And many times the reason this happens, or let me ask us, why do we think this happens? Why do we think this happens? Why do we think this happens? Why do we get to this point where you have people saying there's no use? Why are we collecting all this data? Nobody even listens to us. Nobody's even doing anything with the data. You're just presenting it and talk, and we'll come back and problems are still there. Why do we think it happens? Let me know. We're rounding up right about now. We have a few slides to go, just maybe 3 or so. Anybody writing? Anybody typing? Okay. Resistance to change. Resistance to change by the team or by the management? Moloko says resistance to change. Okay. Maybe lack of clarity in the presentation. Awesome, Tochukwu. Both, okay, resistance to change both by the team and by the management. Fantastic. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I think I understand where you're looking at it from. Management not committed to seeing the things change. Okay, so you've done everything, but management is not committed to seeing the things change. So nothing happens. And then people now begin to complain. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Sometimes have we thought of the fact that in apart from the fact that people are resistant to change, that is a normal. People are resistant to change. And we'll talk about that. I would share shortly how we're going to look at that. Not today. Apart from that, apart from the fact that, you know, sometimes there seems to be a misalignment between what the management wants to do and everything that's all the effort that we have put in to give them what they need. So management is not transparent. Okay. Chiku says sometimes because of bureaucratic bottlenecks. All right. So we've done everything. Management has said, okay, let's do it. But there's bureaucratic bottleneck somewhere along the line and that prevents it from being done, even when the management said it has to be done. Wow. Those bottlenecks we need to break down. Then someone says, Lindy says, sometimes management is not transparent. Yeah. So sometimes they don't have the resources and instead of saying, oh, we don't have the resources for this right now, so that the people can go back and find an alternate solution based on the resources that are available. Yeah. They just say, okay, we'll do it. And then there's silence afterwards. Indeed, I agree with you. In addition to this, sometimes the issue is that they don't get it. So some of these things that we have said is because is when the management has gotten it, has accepted, and they've committed to running with the improvement. Sometimes decisions are not being made because the management has not yet, is not yet on board. You've not yet gotten their buy-in. You've done all the research, you've done all the checks, you've done everything, but you've presented it, you've done a beautiful dashboard, in your opinion. But somehow the management is still saying, okay, we'll come back to it. And then that's when they would say, we'll come back to it. And they don't have the resources for it, or the way you said, and then they say, yeah, we'll do it. Because they have not seen an urgency, right? Why? How we can overcome this is to use the data to influence the decisions. I would normally say, when some of my clients, in engaging with them, I've had situations where this sort of, comments, I say, they don't listen, they won't listen. I don't know why. I'm like, calm down. You don't need to use so many words if you use the right data, if you pull the right data and you use the right data to speak the right language. And I've seen it work wonders. I'm like, wow, Nene, really? So all that stress, so all the quarrels and tensions and high tense situation, whoop, out the window when once you bring data. You don't, I always say, you don't need to talk too much when you bring data. Don't talk too much. Just bring the data, bring correct data, and present it in the correct way. Don't talk. The data will speak for itself. Anyway, let me run now. We need to, because data-driven decision making is critical, okay, for management, laboratory quality management. We have to rely on well-structured data. We have to ensure that the data is properly thought through as leaders, as mid-level or senior level leaders, presenting and wanting to drive change, or wanting to influence decision for change in our different spheres. You have to use the data you have collated to demonstrate impact. Use real-world examples also to show that data-driven insights have shown lab improvement, improvement in efficiency, improvement in accuracy, improvement in compliance. Just see, hey, in this organization, this is where they started. And if we go online, if you even look at peer review journals, you have a lot of case studies there. Look for something that is similar and demonstrate that it has worked before, it can work again. I'll tell you a story. I have a client that it was really Herculean to get some things done. I would say, okay, let's do 1, 2, 3, show them, do all of that. And I'm talking down at the team member level. And you'll be like, okay, we will try. It's very difficult. Is it even possible? And then one day I said, okay, up, let's go. we're going on excursion. And I took them after following the whole G process and getting the right authorizations to another facility where it was working. And I said, watch it. Ask them. I'm out of it. I'm just going to watch you guys interact. And it was, whoa. So it's possible. It's possible. And their energy from then on has been through the roof. Through the roof. They are now driven to do it because they have seen real world impact. They have seen that it is possible. Oh, it is possible. So what you're asking us to do is not impossible. It's not so difficult. If people who have professionals just like us, in fact, some of the engagement, they will ask, what did you study? What are you doing? How long have you been working? Just so that they can confirm the relatability of them and their professionals and their colleagues. And once they find out that these people are just like me and they are doing all of this, so I can do it too. And since then, that is a real world example for me. So create your own real world example. Show them, show that it has worked before, right? So I need to run benchmark against industry standards, ROI justification, justify the returns on investment. Show that this investment in this process is going to lead to better outcomes, is going to lead to reduced errors, is going to lead to cost savings. Understand the goal, understand the focus, understand the drive of the management team you're presenting to, and tailor your repertoire in the direction of what matters to them. And then you will see them begin to ask you, well, how far with that project have we? Because there's now something that they are aspiring to get. There's now a reward for them in your own work, right? Predictive analysis, use historical data to say, if we continue on this path, this is where we're going. Forecast future now suggest proactive measures. So say, if we continue on this path, this is the risk that we face. This is how bad it can get. However, if we take a detour, if we pivot at this point, this is how good it can get. Show opportunities and show risks. Just do that forecastive analysis. And there are so many tools out there that can help. Show transformative stories, like I said, and then get stakeholder buy-in. Just get them to commit with actions. So, okay, thank you very much for agreeing that we should do this project. So step one, get the buy-in there. And then, okay, fantastic. So we're going to, the next step is and you outline the steps. And also you're coming with your own project plan already mapped out in your mind. You're not coming. So when you ask, so what next? You say, okay, I'm going to go back and, prepare the plan and come back and present. You might not have that opportunity. So there and then, in Nigeria, I will say, as it hot. There and then, present your next steps, 5, 7 key next steps. Okay. All right. And then ensure that that commitment is fed into management reviews immediately. This was the point where I shared this case study last month. I only brought it up here to show us what I wanted to just hear from us, your experience. What's your story? Does anybody want to unmute and say, what has been your experience in defining KPIs, in measuring them, or in presenting them to management? Does anybody want to share? You can unmute so that you can speak faster. So you just, you say, okay, this is my experience. This is how in defining KPIs, this has been my challenge, or this has been my success story in defining KPIs or in defining quality indicators, or this has been my story in measuring them, or in presenting data. Oh, I lived that experience and I overcame it in this particular way. Do you want to share? Let's share with our colleagues around the world. Just raise your hand and let me help you unmute. I think we can unmute, right? You can all self-unmute, right? I believe. You want to check? I think you can self-unmute and just speak. Okay. While we are deciding on whether we want to speak to the house or not, the next steps, like I said, always have your next steps. Here's an assignment for us. Write out.
Can I talk?
Oh, yes, please. I want to hear. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tochukwu.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry I joined a bit late, driving back from work and then picking up the kids from school. Okay, so it's an interesting lecture. First of all, I want to make an appeal. Maybe after the presentation, if it's possible, share the slide via email or any means you want to share, so I can still go through and then understand some of the things. Now, talking about the journey so far. Well, like you and I have known for some time now. Of course, I know how we started back then and all that. Fortunately, let me use that word. I moved from a private sector to a government sector, and it seems everything is like a ground zero, and trying to implement some things is, being very difficult. A lot of discussions ongoing. The first time I tried it, I got a very, not a pleasant surprise. I was forced to go back to my shell, and then luckily some other person came into management and who is a bit, aware of what quality management system is about. He has gone for one or two trainings, and right now he's trying to push it. So it seems like we are starting all over again. So from my own side, we're trying to put, little things in place. I don't want to, because I don't want to use the word most, some of them don't really understand where we are coming from or what I'm trying to achieve. But gradually, I'm trying to build their consciousness into what quality is and what quality standards and what management system is all about. So currently, looking at the documentation aspects, we're trying to build all that, and then looking at other indicators like the daily quality controls and all that are things that we're now, trying to put in place, and probably inter-lab quality assurance comparisons and all that. So those are the gradual things that we started. I started some of them last year, and this year also we've continued. But I hope in the next coming months, there might be some improvement, and then we'll take it up from there. But like I said, if you see my comment, then I talked about bureaucratic bottlenecks,
yes.
government,
Yes.
and all those things. It's always expected. There's a clear difference when you're dealing with a government institution and a private institution. By the time they tell you the number of steps, number of admin levels, from the HOD to the assistant director to the director and all that, at the end of the day, you get frustrated and it might not even be implemented. So some of the things. But we hope that they will get some positive, things done as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Nene.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tochukwu, for sharing your experience. That is really, really real, really relatable. Thank you. And thank you for the kind words. As I just respond to Tochukwu, does anybody else want to speak? Please feel free to unmute. Indeed, handling, presenting data and transforming quality through the right metrics and measurement and data presentation to management in the public sector is totally different. Across all economies, is different from the private sector. Public and private, two different worlds. And I have some clients who are fully public and some who are more or less semi-private, but in the public sphere. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, they are publicly private, they're privately public, but they're government owned anyway. And so I understand fully when you say this, and it's, as you said, as you highlighted, it is so much more easier when somebody at the top, somebody at senior level, director level, at the minimum, has a buy-in. Here's something that I found. I found that, it's said that little drops of water make a mighty ocean, right? It's so difficult, especially if you don't have colleagues if you don't have an enabling culture, if the organizational culture is not enabling enough, if it's kind of toxic, it might be a little more difficult. But if you have an enabling culture within your team, the team culture, the team dynamics are right, and the team culture is fine, you all can actually agree, and there's a way you can push the change, and change management is something it's one of the courses that we do, and I was privileged to take the SQA in US quality college. They have quality colleges twice a year. That's Society for Quality Assurance. And I took a course on change management last year. I was sharing and I said that in driving change, you can either push or pull. It can never be push or pull. So in driving change, you can actually, from your team, push it. Many people, everybody, human nature, they want to look good. Everybody wants to look good, right? Everybody wants to look good. Sorry, not push, pull it. Everybody wants to look good. So if you're able to make subtle changes within the team, the things at your own decision making level, you guys agree, okay, we're going to start doing like this different. Nobody is giving you any and these things should actually not cost. You don't need to, not things that you need to, spend out of pocket for. Just practices that you can change, that you can modify, that you can influence that change within your teams, within your team as the people who are doing the work. You're going to, once you consistently do it without giving up, just constantly do it. Sometimes it might take 3 months, it might take 6 months for that change you have made to become evident. It will begin to pull the attention of the people who are higher up to say, and those are things have changed there. What's happening? What are they? Why is it different? What's happening there? So you're pulling the change. You're pulling it in. You're attracting the desire to fuel or fund or drive that change. You're pulling it in, but it will take much longer and a lot more intentionality to achieve this, because it will take a while for them to notice. But because everybody wants to look good, so you should not also be offended when someone says, okay, I taught the team to, your aim is for there to be an improvement, and you just stick and just be content with that aim. It happens, it's human nature, right? But you can pull. That's my point. You can pull instead of pushing. Pushing would get management to drive it. But when management is, where you have bureaucracy, public sector, you can actually pull it. It will only take a little longer and require a little more consistency, but you can pull it in. I hope that helps. Okay. So if no one else is speaking, let's just tidy this up very neatly. Thank you for sharing, Tochukwu. So write 2 objectives. When I finish this slide, please take a screenshot. Up until the time we will share the slides. We'll share them as a PDF via email to everyone who has attended. So write out 2 objectives from 1 goal area identified in your organization for 2025, if goals were shared. 2 objectives from 1 goal area. Now detail the QIs or KPIs needed to accomplish those objectives. Okay. Engage with your team members and motivate their participation. I've said team members. So depending on where you are, if you are middle management or senior management, downward. If you are middle execution or senior execution, across lateral. Start measuring 1 key metric tomorrow, Friday, the 31st of January, tomorrow. So just ponder on it this night and just start measuring 1 key metric tomorrow. Discuss with your team tomorrow morning and begin to measure something. Join conversations, explore solutions with other professionals. Don't live in a silo. And we're working on something beautiful in QBS Global. We're working on something really beautiful, if I may say so myself. And it's going to help us to collaborate as professionals across Africa. We're going to work together to help improve our systems. We're going to have resource sharing. We're going to have, don't let the cat out of the bag, but we should just quietly finish and then unravel the beautiful box. But it's coming. It's coming. And so when we ask you via email to please take a survey or help us, let us know about something, please just click on those links and help us, because it's helping drive our development of the software. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's coming to you. Finally, subscribe to our newsletter. The link will be in the chat so that you can access free templates. We share a lot of freebies in our emails, tools and resources that they become available. We have this coming up in February. And we have the link right there. So we're going to delve deeper into change management, managing resistance to change, etc. Leadership, gaining management buy-in, and all of those things is all part of the plan. So thank you also very much for listening. Any questions? Thank you. We're 8 minutes behind schedule and I've not done questions. I'm so sorry. Any questions?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Hi, Asteria.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well. We thank God. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful presentation, and I'm really happy to be part of this program. So there was another advert was sent out whereby there will be, I think it's a 5 day session. I just forgot the topic. Then I have to ask her, it is no visual assessment for that session. I just forgot the topic. I think it's somewhere beginning of Feb, or that will happen in Lagos. And then
Okay, that's end of Feb.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the one I just showed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how often do you have this type of session? Because they are very important and they provide us with a vital information to shape our practice in order to implement our QMS. I'm working in one of the labs that we have recently transitioned to a new ISO version. I've been maintaining accreditation for the 5 years since I became a supervisor. So I'm really happy. I just want to hear when are we exactly going to this type of session, because you pick up certain important points that will strengthen your weakness. When you are in the lab, sometimes we really don't do what we write on our corrective action report. So we just want to have that a culture of real-time update of our documents, not to spend like two days before the audit is when you say, no, I'm going to do this. No, that's really a bad practice. Although we are trying to move a bit by bit, when you also work with people, it's not easy. You have to pull this side to this side. So I just want to really, maybe if you can share a schedule with us, then we can, keep posted.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Yota is on standby to share the schedule for the Q1, but for our certification courses. Thank you for your kind words, Asteria, and well done for all the work you've done so far. Our quality conversations hold monthly. Let me start from that question. At the last Thursday of every month, we'd have a topic that we'll just discuss like this. The last Thursday of every month. So for you to know the topic in advance, you can just follow us on social media or subscribe to the newsletter, and you know when it comes, when the topic that will be held. As for the course, the flyer is up on the screen, so you should be able to see it now. That's end of Feb. And what we had quite a few requests, or quite a number of requests for participation from outside of Nigeria. So we're having it as blended, so that we are able to do it both ways. CPD points for this or the other one, this or the Feb one. For this one, we're not having CPD for this particular webinar, not yet. I'm still working with, I have to work with HSP, I always mix up the acronym, Health Provider Council of South Africa, HPCSA, to get the CPD for this. And then, the Feb one, I'm still working on it. I'm working on getting CPD from ASLM. So let's see how it works.
Now, if perhaps going to receive certificates
Yes, you're going to get certificates.
Oh, that's wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. That's for the Feb one, yes.
Oh, I think the first one is the one that's covering the documentation and the writing of SOP.
Oh no, that's the tomorrow's own.
Oh, there's still a session tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's closed now. Registrations is closed now for that.
Oh dear, I missed it. Okay, I hope
Don't
that.
worry, it's going to come up again later in the year.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
still coming up in Q1 again.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Yeah, we'll share the calendar via email.
No, that will be fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So we are going way beyond schedule now, and I really respect our time and appreciate our coming. I'm just going to let Yuta in 2 minutes, run through the pardon? Okay. Just run through the schedule. I'm going to stop sharing now. Yuta, over to you.
Can I quickly ask, please?
Yes, Tochukwu.
Okay, the training that's coming later next month, is this still open for registration? I mean the one you just shared the flyer, is this still open for registration?
Yes, that one is still open. In fact, there's an early bird discount that is still available till tomorrow. Early bird closes tomorrow. And then you have group discounts also available. Group discounts for every 5 seats, and every 5 seats you get 1 seat from the same organization. So you have that. Thank you for asking. Please fill our survey, our feedback survey on this webinar. Yota, when you're ready, 1 minute. You have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm just really going to share my screen now. Okay. So first off, would like you to follow us on social media. You can scan the QR code to join our mailing list and learn more about the February course. See that a number of you are interested. For the first quarter, we have a number of certification courses being delivered in partnership with Exemplar Global. So depending on your schedule, we'll try to make these courses flexible. This is the calendar. You can also check social media for it, or it will be shared with you via email. So it's important that you join the newsletter, you subscribe to our newsletter. And then also we have this course in February, which our director has already shared about. And again, the link to learn more about the course has been put in the chat, so you can just use it, learn more about the course. And if you still have questions, you can email us and we'll be happy to provide answers. And then finally, if you got value from this webinar, we strongly encourage that you give us your feedback. It's very simple. You can scan the QR code or you can use this link. Again, it will be shared the link will be shared in the chat so that you can, and you'd also receive an email to fill this form. So we would love to hear from you.
Right. So the network went away. Okay, are you back, Yuta?
Yes, I am. I said I'm through. Did you lose me at any point? I was handing over.
Okay, yes. I think your final words, but it's fine. Thank you also very much. Please, the links will be in the chat right now. Thank you for coming, and we will look forward to seeing you again next month when we'll discuss another topic. Invite your friends if you found value from this, and thank you for coming. Thank you. Have a good evening. The link to the feedback form, Yuta, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asteria, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.